If this is not a criminal investigation now, I'd be totally surprised. They'll go on the balance of probabilities based on the area that we fully search with a lot of people. We can't find any evidence, be it a backpack, a shoe, or whatever. We can't find the kids. If you can't find them, that somebody has to say enough is enough right now for searching those areas. So now we move to where? There's only one other option. A nefarious take to this. In other words, a criminal type thing. That's only my personal opinion.
They disappeared. The world rallied. Then the fundraiser vanished too. Lilly and Jack Sullivan, just 6 and 4 years old, were reported missing on April 21st, 2025. Within hours, Nova Scotians mobilized. Flyers were printed. Search parties formed. The RCMP began an intensive investigation. And online, the community did what it could from afar. They donated. A modest GoFundMe was launched, not by the family, but by concerned locals who wanted to do something, anything to help. The goal was simple: raise awareness, fund posters, fuel for volunteers, and possibly boost outreach through social media. It wasn't about profit. It was about urgency, about hope. In just a few days, the campaign passed 500 Canadian dollars. Most donors gave small amounts, $10, $20, whatever they could spare. Messages poured in offering prayers and solidarity. Some even offered to print and mail flyers at their own expense. It felt like a lifeline, one thread of light in a moment of darkness. But then something changed. Without warning, the fundraiser was shut down. Comments were turned off. Donations halted. And the few remaining funds, roughly $300, were quietly redirected, not to search teams, not to missing persons outreach, but to a woman named Cheryl. No context, no public update, no explanation for why someone not directly involved with the children's case now had access to funds meant for finding them. The backlash came quickly. Donors reached out, demanding transparency. "Where's the money going?" one post read. "I gave to help find missing kids, not pay someone's bills." Confusion turned to anger. Screenshots began circulating on Facebook. Private messages between the fundraiser organizer and people connected to the family hinted at pressure, possibly even demands, for the funds to be rerouted. And Cheryl? She wasn't a known search volunteer. She wasn't a spokesperson. To many, she was a total stranger. What was originally a gesture of kindness began to look like something else. Community members started requesting refunds. A few even contacted GoFundMe support. Some alleged that the children's mother, Malehya, was involved in the redirection of funds. Others claimed the organizers were blindsided. According to one insider, a phone call between a volunteer and a family member ended with the line, "We didn't sign up for this. We just wanted to help." A former volunteer has since come forward, claiming they provided voice notes and screenshots to the RCMP. There are still no charges. No formal accusations. No official statement from law enforcement. But the damage was already done. What was meant to unite the community had fractured it. Trust, once flowing freely, was suddenly scarce. And the timing couldn't have been worse. Because the children are still missing. The search still matters. And every distraction, every questionable choice, only drags attention away from what truly matters: finding Lilly and Jack. So while the RCMP continues interviews, polygraphs, and tip-line follow-ups, the public is left with more questions and answers. How did a fundraiser built on hope end in suspicion? And what else might be going on behind the scenes? Sometimes, it's not the silence that's the loudest. It's the money that disappears with it. On May 2nd, 2025, 6-year-old Lilly and 4-year-old Jack vanished without a trace from their quiet rural home in Pictou County, Nova Scotia. The alarm was immediate. Neighbors searched the woods. Volunteers rallied. And online, the community responded with urgency. Within hours, a GoFundMe was launched, not by the family, but by locals desperate to help. Its mission was clear: fund poster printing, boost social media outreach, and raise national awareness in hopes of bringing the children home. Donations began to pour in. Strangers from across Canada and beyond gave what they could: $10, $25. Some offered design services for flyers. Others pledged to print and post in nearby provinces. It wasn't just money, it was movement, the kind that sparks hope in hopeless moments. But just as fast as it began, everything went quiet. Without warning, the fundraiser was shut down. The donation page went dark. Comments were disabled. And then came the most disturbing twist. The remaining funds, hundreds of dollars, were reportedly redirected to a woman named Cheryl, someone not publicly affiliated with the case or the search efforts. There was no official update, no post, no explanation to the donors, just silence. For those who had donated, it felt like betrayal. The children were still missing. The RCMP were still following leads. Volunteers were still combing the woods. Yet now, the one channel many trusted to make a difference had vanished, just like Lilly and Jack. And the money? Gone to someone outside the immediate circle, allegedly without the consent of the public or the original fundraising team. This wasn't just a technical glitch or a clerical error. It was a fracture in public trust during the most fragile and desperate time imaginable. Within a week of the campaign's launch, a surprising announcement was posted. The fundraiser will be transferred to the name of a woman named Cheryl. The reason given was vague, something about an administrative transition. But for many in the community, the timing fell off. The urgency of the children's disappearance hadn't lessened. If anything, public concern was rising, along with questions about what had really happened on the day Lilly and Jack vanished. Cheryl, according to various sources, is a close associate of the family. Familiar to them, yes, but not a legal guardian, not a direct caretaker, and not someone actively involved in organizing the search. She hadn't been seen at ground searches, hadn't posted publicly about the effort, and hadn't addressed the community directly. Yet now, the funds intended to raise awareness for 2 missing children were suddenly being placed under her name. The backlash was swift. Donors who contributed under the impression that their money would go toward outreach, printing posters, boosting social media, coordinating volunteer efforts, began asking questions. Why was Cheryl now in charge? Who authorized the shift? And why hadn't the public been consulted before the transfer? For many, the decision didn't feel like an administrative shift. It felt like an erasure of transparency at a time when transparency mattered most. And as the RCMP expanded their investigation, public faith in the surrounding adults, already shaky due to confusing statements and conflicting timelines, took another hit. People weren't just worried about Lilly and Jack anymore. They were starting to wonder if there were forces working behind the scenes to distract, deflect, or worse, disrupt. In the absence of clear communication, speculation filled the vacuum. Was Cheryl chosen to distance the family from the funds? Was this a calculated move to divert scrutiny? Or was it simply poor judgment in a moment of panic? No official answers came, and that silence spoke volumes. Local Facebook groups and GoFundMe comment threads erupted with outrage and confusion. The sense of betrayal was palpable, especially among those who had donated not just money, but emotional energy and trust. These weren't passive contributions. These were parents, neighbors, and strangers moved by the unimaginable, the vanishing of 2 innocent children, and they believed their donations were fueling the search. One commenter wrote, "I donated to help find Lilly and Jack, not to support family politics. Now the money is gone." Another added, "Why would the mother step away from managing donations? What's Cheryl's role in this? She's not even listed in the original post." Speculation poured in like wildfire. Was Cheryl handling the money because others were under scrutiny? Was the fundraiser shut down before questions got louder? Or was there something far more innocent, just poor communication and panic? Unfortunately, no one from the family stepped forward to publicly clarify. Even worse, the original GoFundMe update didn't explain the full scope of the transition, just a short note about administrative changes, and that the funds would now be under Cheryl's care. No financial report, no breakdown of expenses, no updated goal, and no accountability. For a campaign that started with urgency and community spirit, the silence felt like abandonment. One frustrated local wrote, "This is why people stop donating. Because when families don't communicate clearly, it makes everything feel shady. And that's heartbreaking, because these kids are still out there." To this day, many donors remain in the dark. Refund requests have been filed. Screenshots are circulating. And some local residents are now calling for an independent review, not just of the fundraiser, but of every public-facing effort connected to this case. Because once trust is broken, it's not just the money that's lost, it's faith. Faith in the system. Faith in the family. And perhaps most tragically, faith in the hope that someone, somewhere, is still doing everything possible to bring Lilly and Jack home. Officially, the RCMP has maintained silence on the controversy surrounding the fundraiser. No formal statements have been made. There are no criminal charges, no public accusations, no confirmations of misuse, and notably, no denial from Cheryl or the Sullivan family. But that silence hasn't stopped the speculation. Behind the scenes, several insiders allege that investigators are quietly working through layers of digital evidence. According to one source close to the situation, RCMP officers have already pulled GoFundMe transaction logs, requested metadata from Facebook comment threads, and begun tracing deleted posts, banking transitions, and private message exchanges across multiple accounts. These aren't just routine checks. They're reportedly looking for inconsistencies, discrepancies between what was said publicly and what happened privately. Were there early plans to divert funds? Were any promises made to donors that weren't kept? Who requested the name transfer to Cheryl? Was it voluntary? Or was it done under pressure? A former volunteer who helped moderate the campaign's early posts claims they were contacted by a plainclothes officer and asked for screenshots of group chats, deleted replies, and even timestamp of edits on the GoFundMe page. Nothing is confirmed. But in a case already burdened by grief, suspicion, and silence, the fundraiser's sudden disappearance has become more than just a financial footnote. It's now part of a broader investigation into trust, transparency, and possibly deception. The RCMP isn't talking, but the data never really disappears. And if there are hidden motives behind the fundraiser's shutdown, they may yet be uncovered. One IP address, one email, or one deleted message at a time. A local volunteer, who was present during the moment the fundraiser transfer was requested, recalled a tense and emotional phone call, one that shifted the tone of the entire effort. According to the volunteer, the conversation ended with a chilling line, "I thought we were doing this for the kids, not for someone's expenses." That moment, they said, was when everything changed. The clarity and urgency that had united the community began to dissolve in confusion and mistrust. What started as a straightforward mission to raise awareness and fund search efforts was now spiraling into something else, something that fell off. Not long after, the original organizer of the GoFundMe, believed to be someone unaffiliated with the immediate family, reportedly made a difficult decision. Fearing the community's goodwill was being misused, they gathered screenshots, timestamps, and private message logs and voluntarily submitted them to law enforcement. The materials allegedly included discussions about where the funds should go, pressure to reroute money, and conflicting accounts from different individuals tied to family. Their concern wasn't just about miscommunication. It was about intent. They felt the fundraiser had been hijacked. And although no charges have been filed and no official statement has been made, sources say the RCMP did receive the materials and quietly added them to the growing digital dossier tied to the Sullivan case. The fundraiser may not be the center of the investigation, but it has become a key subplot, one that reveals fault lines in the relationships and motivations of those closest to the missing children.